I don't even remember what you said. What did you say?
He called her a whore.
He was calling her a whore.
Oh, I remember
he can
that
only
part.
name 2 people she fucked, but he's calling her a whore.
Whore was not to the definition of sleeping with a lot of people. It was the behavior and the betrayal that she continues to do to somebody that she made a vow to.
Who is she betraying and how?
Her marriage.
The father of her 2 amazing children.
How is she betraying him?
Fam.
Right.
No, quickly. How is she betraying him? Because everything she's saying...
Quickly.
First of all, because I listened to the episode, y'all didn't acknowledge the fact that she's like, oh, she's touring for something. Her book, her memoir, they're taking excerpts from her memoir and making them headlines. Doesn't matter. I said what I said. They're taking them and making... I said excerpts. They're taking excerpts.
That's still not it.
Excerpts.
Wait, hold on. Let her prove her point.
I'm just trying to correct her. She's saying the wrong word. But I understand what she's saying. Excerpts. Go ahead.
Exorcism.
Yeah.
Keep going, Demaris. I'm sorry.
Anyway, they're taking things from her book and making them headlines. And y'all are under the impression that she's coming out every other day saying something new when they're taking parts of her book and making them headlines and shoving her in her face. It's shoving her in your face. And it's like, oh, Jada keeps coming out and saying things. No, she sat down, wrote a book, did 2 interviews like you do on a fucking press tour, said a bunch of shit that Will said years ago in his book that they talked about on the red table, and somehow everything is Jada's fault. I'm so fucking confused.
Well, I was going off the clips, not the headlines, like of her actual, like talking with Matt Barnes and shit. Mm-hmm. But what would your community of gender say if Will was going on this tour saying all these things but flipped towards Jada?
He said it in his book.
He would be the worst, most misogynistic man on fucking earth.
Will literally went in his book and said, I'm a narcissist. Everything I do is for me.
Oh, so accountabilities, which isn't in Jada's book.
I never tried to make my marriage, I never tried to do anything for Jada. Everything I did was to soothe my own ego. Me and Jada have been separated for a while. We're just never divorcing. He said all of this in his book. Nobody bats an eye. She comes out, says the same exact thing. They make it a bunch of headlines and she's a whore, a terrorist, and all of these.
One came with accountability. One didn't. You can't see the difference there?
Did you read her book to know whether she took accountability or not?
No, and I'm not going to read her book. But I'm talking specifically about the interviews and what she's been doing.
Have you been watching the entire interviews or the clips?
The clips. I've admitted that.
Okay.
No, this is a clip society.
Yeah,
nobody gets the full
So you have,
anymore.
you have...
And if you think I'm that invested in Jada Pinkett Smith and Matt Barnes while I'm in Toronto, you're mistaken.
Well, then you shouldn't have been calling her a whore with so much conviction.
Whore was
that was
a bit
OD,
far.
Rory.
I apologize for using the word whore.
And why did they have a picture of dope on the spoon? And when she said,
oh, because she wanted to sell crack.
Well, no, she did. She was.
Well, that's not crack.
That is not, no.
Oh, that's
like
what I didn't choose the photo.
It's like Nutella with sugar on it.
Yeah.
She was on her way to being the queen pin of Baltimore, but got out the game. I'm sorry, was that a headline? Did I make that up? Or was that an excerpt from her book?
Well, she revealed she sold a lot of crack as a teenager, which is not something that's weird.
Since the 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, listen, growing up in the inner city, somewhere like Baltimore where crack and cocaine and drugs is rampant, I mean, it's not far-fetched that somebody coming from her era would say that they sold and they partook in that culture. So that's not...
Oh, I didn't think this was that far-fetched, to be quite honest.
That's not
just
awkward.
in the scheme of this PR run of everything that's been going on to just sprinkle in like, oh, and I was a queen pin.
Sprinkle crack on it.
So
and I was the prop Joe of Baltimore. That character was based off me.
She's talking about her memoir. It's her life. How are y'all mad at that?
I'm not mad at it. I just think that I can understand how people are seeing these clips and seeing everything she's saying about her relationship with Tupac and kind of piecing it how it could be disrespectful or come across disrespectful to her marriage. I can see how some people would feel like that.
Do you think Tupac proposed to that girl at Rikers Island?
I wouldn't be surprised if he did. For sure. I don't think she has any reason to lie about
He was already.
Well, they already debunked that.
Yeah.
How did they debunk it? Because he was. So wait.
Because they're saying,
being that y'all say that I date jail niggas all the time, I saw the fake debunk of he was in a relationship with somebody else at the time that she's saying that he proposed. Right? That was the
engaged,
debunk?
I believe.
Well, no, I'm saying that when she was saying that he would have done it, he wasn't even in Rikers anymore. He was at a whole nother facility.
He's at Clinton at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
so you don't think it's possible for her to get that mixed up?
I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying she didn't get it mixed up. I'm saying what she said, that wasn't true because he couldn't have, the timeline shows that he couldn't have proposed her at Rikers. He wasn't there.
And you think it's fair if he jokingly said in the visitation room, like, we should just get married, that she should then come years and years and years later, after Pac died with a wife, to just put that in the air? Because I've been killing a bunch of people for just putting a bunch of Tupac shit out while he can't defend himself. You think this was fair to put out?
That's my thing too.
Like if it was a joke, like yo, I can see Pac be like, Jada, let's like this is some bullshit. Like let's just get married. I'm done with this shit. I need you, my best friend. Like as a joke, that ends up in a memoir as your press run.
He also could have been serious.
No, he could. I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying it's impossible that Tupac ever did or did not propose to Jada. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what she said, the timelines were a little off. So people are like, oh, I don't know about that one. He wasn't even there when you said he was there and he proposed. Wasn't there. Now, do I think that Tupac and Jada were in love? Absolutely. Do I think that it's kind of awkward for all of these years later for her to now be on a memoir tour talking about her life, which Tupac is obviously a part of her life? Do I think it's fair to keep throwing Tupac's name in these interviews? I don't think that's fair.
Is she throwing him in, or is she getting asked questions?
Well, I'm sure their relationship is in her memoir. I'm sure that is.
Yes.
So obviously she's going to talk about that part of her life. It's a part of her life. It's a chapter in her life. I'm not saying she should totally ignore it, but I just think that all of these years later, it's almost 30 years since we've lost Tupac. I just think that it's a little stale now to keep bringing his name up in press conferences and interviews. Now, I know that that's the talking point, and we live on wanting to have clips and things that go viral. You throw Tupac's name out there, obviously that's going to get picked up by a lot of different blog sites and things like that. I just think that Jada herself, away from the Tupac relationship when they were younger, Jada has done enough in her life to where her story is interesting with or without Tupac Shakur.
For sure.
I think that her story is very interesting. She's obviously a legend. She's married to a legend. They have a beautiful family. They have talented kids. I just think that using the Tupac name for headlines and for clips is just a little stale at this point. But I do understand it's a very real and very important part of her life.
But what I'm saying is we have a podcast. We right here sit up and pick. No, we have a podcast. We sit up here and pick our clips and we pick our headlines. Do the people that we interview, do they pick the clips and the headlines, or do we sit and do that?
No, we sit and do that. But obviously, again, people are going to throw the Tupac thing in there because that's what they want.
Exactly. So how does that fall on her?
She's offering the information.
I was simply saying the Rikers. I'm not saying she can't talk about Tupac. She's been talking about Tupac, rightfully so. That was one of her closest friends for years. She said negative things about him. She said positive things about him. It's just throwing in random shit now. I just think is weird. Like, why are you bringing up proposal shit?
It was her memoir. That's why I don't under.
Is that in her memoir? Because I just saw it in an interview.
I'm sure it's in her memoir.
It's in her memoir, which
anything about her relationship with Tupac is going to be in her memoir. Like I said, it's not a negative thing. I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I just think that when you're speaking on the dead, not in a negative or positive way, just when you're speaking on them, I just think it's a little unfair because obviously they're not here to say if that is or is not in fact true. That's all I'm saying. Like we don't know if that's true, if he proposed or not. We don't know. Like,
there's a million Tupac conspiracy fucking YouTube channel that Rory watches regularly.
Yeah,
nobody ever complains about what the fuck they're saying.
No,
I've actually been very vocal about the whole Tupac YouTube community.
I think it's corny. I think it's corny for anybody that's still talking about the Tupac thing. Like as far as like conspiracies, is he still alive? He's in Cuba. I think that's just like
that's definitely why.
Like when we got to let that go. Now that's falling into like when I was younger, people were saying Elvis is still alive. It's like it's kind of like that. It's like, bro, stop.
He is.
Like let's just cut it out. Let's just move on to something else. There's plenty of other legends that are still here that we have the chance to talk to and celebrate as well. Not to say we forget about Tupac just because he's gone, but I just think that doing a press tour and talking about your relationship with somebody that's no longer here, I think that route is a little played out.
What did you think of her Oscar slap comments?
It was a little awkward for me because she said up until that point she didn't hear Will refer to her as his wife in a very long time. So she said she was confused. But my thing is, you showed up to that red carpet and the world knows you as Mr. and Mrs. Will Smith, right? That's who we know you as. So you showing up to one of the biggest nights in Hollywood with who everyone deems to be your husband. This is who we know him as. Aside from being a great actor, y'all are a married couple. So to come out and say that you were surprised or you were a little thrown off when he called you his wife, I just think that's a little like, not saying it's not true. Maybe she did because we don't know what goes on in their home, but it's like, I don't think we should have got that. I think that's something that she should have kept like in the tuck because now it makes Will look even crazier for going up there doing that.
No, I still don't think.
What?
We already disagree.
That's like if you go out on a date and a dude gets into a fight for you, be like, yo, keep my girl name out your mouth. And you be like, I'm not your girl. And me and this nigga over here tussling cologne on each other.
But she didn't go to him and say, I'm not your girl. She went to him and said, are you okay? Like, what the fuck is going on? And I would like my flowers because she came out and said that man came at her and tried to get with her before while she was still married to Will. And I told y'all that from the beginning.
He did not know she was still married. He thought that they were and
doesn't matter.
They've been separated for years.
I'm not saying he's wrong for it, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's not the point. My point where I said I want my flowers because I told y'all that shit happened. When y'all sent him there, he slapped her for no reason. He slapped her. No, bro. I always knew that there was something behind the scenes that led to that amount of anger that came from that. That didn't just come out of nowhere. That it wasn't just created in that moment.
No, we all.
I
think I agree with that. I don't think I fought you on that. I could definitely see that. I think I agree with you on that. But my thing is, she comes out now and says she was a little thrown off because he hasn't referred to her as his wife in years. Like, I just think saying that publicly after he went up there and it seemed like defended your honor.
It's like just some shit you don't need to say.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to. It's like y'all could have kept that to the family. Like, y'all could have kept that. Like, she didn't need to sit down with Matt Barnes and Steven. I don't know if she said that with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, but like, if she did, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson is definitely not the ones that you should be telling that to. Like, I love Matt and Stack Jack, but it's like, you giving them that? Like, that's something you could have kept, like...
Breaking the news to NBA legends is
hilarious. It's like, you could have kept that in the crib.
And I'm not saying Jada had to go and agree with what he did, but to make him look even crazier...
Exactly.
It's kind of been my point.
Why do y'all
where
think
I use
that
word whore when I shouldn't
crazier?
What?
Why do y'all think that her saying, I was surprised that he called me his wife, make him look crazy?
How does that not make him look crazy?
Because the whole thing was him. He was defending, keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Okay,
right?
but
so now he has the father of her children walking around looking even fucking crazy because now everybody is like, wait, so he smacked Chris Rock over like his homegirl?
Yeah.
Like his homegirl, looks, not the partner he's been with for years, not the mother of his children.
But some shit just hold down.
You're wrong in that. You're wrong in that. You're wrong in that because you're wrong in that because she still is his wife. They're not divorced.
Yeah, of course.
And they are family.
So when he says keep my wife's name out your mouth, he's 100%. That's my wife. We are still married.
Still.
Right,
Exactly.
so he did the right thing.
So what's the shock?
But that's what they're saying. She's making him look crazy by saying I haven't heard Will refer to me as his wife in a while. That's not making him look. That's her truth. He hasn't referred to me as his wife.
Why?
The comment
if you genuinely care about someone, why offer that information, knowing people are going to then look at him and be like, "Damn, he did all that for what? She's not even banging with him like that."
Your family look crazy.
I said it last episode. She's doing her best to make him look crazy. She's killing his legacy. Not as an actor, as a person, as a man. She is destroying his legacy.
Killing his legacy as a man. You know him?
Look how we look at Will now. Like his public perception is trash.
Certain people look at Will a certain way.
How everyone that's not in their personal lives look at Will, look at him like he's a fucking pussy
it's not
now.
Everyone. It's people who are so offended by what Jada is doing as if they are the ones marrying her because she's playing on y'all's insecurities that you have in yourself. That has nothing to do with Will. Will has never come out and said that he was uncomfortable with what Jada is doing. Will has sat by his wife, sat up here, wrote with her, gave her congratulations on her book. He's been everywhere with her.
No.
NewRoryNMal.